clicking. It wouldn't let me do it. I think it wouldn't let me.
And that's what it's all about. They just go to work. And as he said, after that first quarter, Texas was down 15-13 and never looked back after that, outscoring their opponent, the Baylor Bears, 14-8 in the second quarter, 22-17 in the third, and 18-15 in the fourth. There was some moments where it got a little bit sketchy, got a little scary. There were some things that were happening, but eventually the Texas Longhorns rallied and got that dub. This is an important matchup for Texas anyway, because, you know, they were watching the game on TV last night. They got a chance to talk to Rory Harmon, and they were asking her, what is she doing now? Like, she's in charge of the defensive charts and knowing what's going on. And she spends a lot of time with Madison Booker. Madison Booker, if you have not had an opportunity to watch this young lady play, you are missing out. She is special. And for kids to be able to say, you know, my son is a basketball guy. He loves watching women's basketball, which is kind of like, what? What you say now? What you say now? But the fact of the matter is, when you're watching this team and the way that they move and the hustle that they play with and the determination that Coach Vic Schaefer is asking of them, their staff, the way that they coach this team, it is a fun group to watch. And if you remember last week, he was saying that he looked on the bench and there were some people sitting on the bench that averaged like 25, 30 points just sitting on the bench. And he's like, we're overcoming so much. We're overcoming so much. But it's that energy in which they play with that makes the biggest difference for me. I'm so impressed with the way that this basketball team has been operating without their best player, Rory Harmon. We all know that what she means to the team, but they are rallying around each other to make sure that things are continuing to go in the right direction.
Well, with that one over Baylor, Texas ranked number 12 last night. Baylor at 13. Big game on Sunday, Hardge, 1 o'clock. You can listen to that on 103.1 FM. But number 2, Kansas State.
Ooh.
Up next for the Lady Longhorns.
Yeah, it's a big matchup all the way around because of the fact, too, when you start to think about what this team, the adversity that they go through, the way that they have rallied around each other, and the fact that they continue to rise in the rankings with all the issues that they have. But here's the deal. Your Division I basketball team, you continue to get better. You continue to work together, and you got to go out there and perform. On any given night, anything can happen. So if you're playing at the best of your abilities and you're pushing yourself and you are executing the game plan, that's the biggest thing for me. There are some times, look, Madison Booker is a freshman. She's done amazing things, but there are some times that she makes some freshman mistakes. But the thing about it is she's learning on the fly. That's the beautiful part about this. That is the thing that I'm enjoying when I'm getting a chance to watch her, because I heard the name. I watched her earlier this year, and the steps and the leaps and the bounds in which she has taken to put herself in this. This has been very fun to watch. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Aaliyah Moore in the way that she has been performing as well. And Shaylee Gonzalez, Shay Holly played 40 minutes yesterday, did not come off the floor. And those are the types of moments and players that you need to be able to lead this team in the right direction. So kudos to that Texas women's basketball team. As Salty said, they got a big test coming up against the Kansas State Wildcats, not Jayhawks. I was going to say, they probably mad at me for saying that right there. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Some things are changing in Big D. And when I say Big D, they need to get a big DC. That's right, defensive coordinator. Who will it be? We'll talk about it when we get back on the Hard Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone.
Radio AM 1300, The Zone.
Welcome back to the Hardge Knocks Life. And as always, we want to make sure that you come out and hang with us. That's right. Myself and Craig Way on February the 11th for the big game from 3 to 6. We'll be hanging out at the Hot Spot. And we want you to come out there and say hello. The venue will give away concert tickets, and they have drink and food specials. But, of course, you need to make sure you get some reservations if you want a table. And you can reserve a table at the hotspotvenue.com. That's hotspotvenue.com. And as always, on Friday, you know what time it is. We always have time for you to vote for the Covert Huddle Best Play of the Week. That's right. Travis Kelce's back shoulder fade for the touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs. Luka drops 73, and Madison Booker leads Texas to a victory over Baylor. Make sure you get over to AM 1300 The Zone and cast your vote. As of right now, Salty, the leader in the clubhouse is Luka, dropping 73. No, excuse me. Madison Booker just took the lead. She just took the lead while we were talking.
Well, it's kind of like what happened to Luka, even though he dropped 73. It just still wasn't enough.
Wasn't enough. Salty, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, and I want people to understand what this is all about. In case you don't know Salty's from Austin. She is went to Anderson High School, and we'll get into the UIL situation a little bit later because I'm kind of confused about all of this. But she has a lot of friends that are here, and they do these different events. They plan things, and they go and hang out. You told me today that you're excited. Not only is it Groundhog Day, still don't know the answer, but it's the third annual January get together. What in the world is this about?
Well, for one, I do have an answer for you. Punxsutawney Phil said we're gonna have an early spring.
Hey,
he did not see a shadow this morning.
Yes, there we go.
January,
there we go.
Is our third annual January where friends, one of my friends from middle school actually, she created this. Where she just invites a bunch of friends. We go out to Don's Depot and we all wear as much jean attire as we can. And we hang out.
I'm
now due to some scheduling, January this year
is in
February 3rd.
Nice. So you guys have done this. This is the third annual. Like, how was this even thought up?
I don't know. Another friend of hers, they were like, that would be fun, like a play on words. And for a while they were like, we should start thinking of one to do every month. But then February immediately got hard with February, and it was like, I don't think any of us have any fur attire.
No.
But
you can have some faux.
January's a good time. I missed the first one, but I went last year, had a good time. I'm probably going tomorrow as well. Probably I haven't purchased any new jean attire in the last year, so probably just wear the exact same thing.
I was just about to say, are you supposed to buy new jean
tuxedo
stuff for the party every year?
People do hit up their local thrift stores to see if they've got any retro January type attire.
I like it.
I think we're fun. I think we're cute, and I think we're fun.
Okay, well, go enjoy yourself on that one. Speaking of looking for some fun and probably some retroactive coaching staff members out there, the Dallas Cowboys are in search of a new defensive coordinator, as we thought was going to happen. Washington Commanders make Dan Quinn their new head coach. And I was, okay, if that's what you want to do, go ahead and do that. It's just ironic to me that all these Dallas Cowboy former coaches, offensive coordinator is now with Philadelphia Eagles, and the former defensive coordinator is now going to the Washington Commanders. So I find that rather interesting that they would want to stay within the conference to be able to go after the Cowboys. Yeah, exactly, to go after the Cowboys, because the Cowboys have won 12 games, 3 straight years. But here are some of the names that have popped up that I think that the Cowboys are going to be looking at. One of the guys that I'm not opposed to them having as their defensive coordinator is Al Harris. Al Harris has been one of the top defensive back coaches here with Dan Quinn. I know that the players believe in him. He's a former player himself, so he's helped our secondary quite a bit. And when I say our, in case you didn't know, I'm a Cowboys fan, but he's helped Deron Bland, Trayvon Diggs, obviously go out there and play some really high-level football. So that is a guy that I would like to look at. I saw a report yesterday that Joe Witt Jr. is somebody that is in the mix to possibly be the defensive coordinator. He's been there. Stories have it that this would be his dream job to be the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. Right now, he's been serving as the defensive pass game coordinator and the secondary coach as well. So, but rumor has it that Dan Quinn might try to take him with him to go over to the Washington Commanders. So there's two guys, people that are, and those guys are both inside of the organization. Some names that have popped up as well. Wink Martindale, which is kind of funny to me because here's a guy right here that was in New York, and it was ugly. They got into a big time argument with the Giants head coach, Brian Daboll. Wink Martindale is a really good defensive minded coach, and with the talent that the Cowboys have, that might be something that can help with them. Another name that popped up, and I'm like, scratch his name off of there, is Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley, the former coach of the San Diego, there we go again, the LA Chargers. He is a defensive coordinator, but his defenses have been terrible in LA. So there's no reason for him to be the Cowboys defensive coordinator. But the one name that I definitely would be looking into is Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera, not very good as a Washington Commanders head coach, but doggone good as a defensive coordinator. So he is somebody to pay attention to. I know that the Cowboys have requested, they don't even have to request anymore. They've scheduled an interview because he's unemployed. So they can get him as well. So those are two names that I've been looking at, and a name to pay attention to, Mike Zimmer. That's right, that Mike Zimmer, former head coach. He was working with Deion Sanders as a consultant for a little bit. He is a name that I would definitely want to bring back retro, as you were talking about your Gene party, retro, because Mike Zimmer will get the most out of his team. He demands a lot from those guys, and he is definitely somebody that understands the Dallas Cowboys personnel. I'm talking about in the front office, not on the field, but I think he will get the best out of those guys. So those are the guys that I would be looking at. But for me, I'm just trying to figure out, why is it that all these coaches continue to stay in the NFC East? Is it because they think they can win there? Because nobody can consistently win in that
division that keeps hiring the same unused, reused, and recycled coaches.
Exactly. And that is the funny part about it. Speaking of coaches that are now going to be hired, our man Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury is sourced to be the new offensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders. Cliff Kingsbury's mindset, you already know. He can definitely draw up some plays and can put his team in the right position. The big thing for me is who is going to be their quarterback. They like Aiden O'Donnell. He did well for them, but I don't know if he fits the type of scheme that Cliff Kingsbury likes to run. So be on the lookout to see if the Raiders go and get a quarterback. I would not be surprised if they go and get one. And name to pay attention to is Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels fits that style of offense for Cliff Kingsbury. He's elusive. Let's not forget, when Cliff was in college, he had Johnny Manziel, got him the Heisman Trophy that year. He's also had Kyler Murray and Patrick Mahomes. So he's done some good things with all of these quarterbacks. And he worked last year with Caleb Williams. Now, the one thing that I've always tried to look at when you pay attention to these types of situations, what is the talent that he's working with? Look at the guys that I just mentioned. All those guys are big time players. You can't mess it up. You just got to make sure you put them in the right place. You can't mess that up. That talent that they play with is undeniable. So you try to come in and do the things to help guide them in the right direction. So there are some things that he's been able to do in the league, and there's some players that he's helped out. So I'll be interested to see what Antonio Pierce and Mark Davis are going to do in the draft. The other part about this is the Raiders, even though Antonio Pierce was the interim coach, first time having head coaching experience during the interim, they brought in Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis is a very experienced coach in the NFL. I believe his record is 131, 122, and 3. Took Cincinnati Bengals to the playoffs quite a bit. Those two worked together while they were at Arizona State from 2019 to 2021. That's when they were all working for our man Herm Edwards. And so now, with the experience that he has, 65-year-old former head coach, now he can bring in and help lead this team. For other part of it is Tom Coughlin. I was going to say McLaughlin. Tom Coughlin has also been given Antonio Pierce advice as well because he played for Tom Coughlin, and Adam Gase. Crazy Eyes has helped them out too. But bringing in Cliff Kingsbury, Marvin Lewis will help this team get better. Let's not forget Cliff Kingsbury, real young. He's 44 years old. And him in Las Vegas, party. But he's disciplined enough. And he's a former head coach. So he knows the ways of the NFL and what he needs to do to make sure that his players perform at a very high level.
I kind of worry about that for him because the whole idea of him in Arizona and him being with Kyler is he's a perfect fit for this next generation of quarterbacks.
Yep.
Well, what happened?
Well, I mean,
we're running it back with him again.
Well, here's
not in a head coaching capacity, obviously.
Well, but now he can focus on what he does best, and that's offense. That's what he does. So that's it. He doesn't have to worry about the defense. He doesn't have to worry about his frat brothers.
See him back in the NFL.
I definitely, offensive minded wise, there's no doubt in my mind Cliff can be, if he wants to be an offensive coordinator, because a lot of times Cliff just kind of moves around.
Now he's got to go against Pat Mahomes twice a year. That's his guy.
That's
what? His dog.
So what? I would love the opportunity to be an offensive guy. Well, not really, because everybody's still mad at him because they didn't win when they had Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. And that's why Cliff ended up getting let go. And how did he find another job in automatic? I guess I'm going to get let go at Texas Tech, but I'm going to become
when you're a beautiful person,
there it is.
Things just come to you.
Well, things start to happen. And he's from the area. You know how he gets down. That's a good conversation right there. The NFL taking over. Cowboys looking for a new defensive coordinator. When we come back, I'm going to talk about the Senior Bowl players that are standing out. Some of them Longhorns are making some noise. Did you see that video of T'Vondre Sweat? We've seen that before. Right here on the Hardge Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone.
Hardge Knocks Life on Sports Radio AM 1300 The Zone with Hardge and Salty. Follow the crew on Twitter at Mike Hardball Hardge and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
It's the first weekend in months where we don't have a meaningful college football game, a meaningful NFL game. But that's not quite true across the board. We do have a Pro Bowl flag football game to look forward to. And the Senior Bowl, which the action underway yesterday, I believe. And here to give you the inside scoop to talk about it and those Texas players that were involved, it's one Mr. Mike Hardge.
Thank you, Salty. Thank you, Salty Sweeney. We are possibly going to whisper. But my voice does not whisper like that.
No, you don't. You can't go to a movie theater
Salty.
Can you pass the popcorn?
This is the time of year where players are starting to try to assert themselves. Obviously, they've got plenty of film, but this is the time where they get to work out in front of professional coaches and administrators. And we talked about Jerry Jones all week long about how he continues to talk even more so than what he would do in a regular season after a regular season game, or like he has his own press conferences. But these are some players that are trying to make their way into the NFL. And for the Texas Longhorns, a person that has really been standing out this entire time is the person that we thought was standing out this entire year as well. And that is one T'Vondre Sweat. T'Vondre Sweat has been one of the most dominant football players at these camps. And for him, it's just people getting a chance to really see him and fine tune everything that he's been working on. This guy has put his he put the weight room work in, and everybody saw the change of him. If you go back and you look at what his start to the University of Texas was all about and to where he is now, you can see the change in his body. You can see the change in his mentality. He'll be the first to tell you when he first got to the University of Texas, he was a jokester. He was having way too much fun, and he wasn't dialed into the process of what he needed to do to get to this point. But now he is definitely at that point. He's moving up draft boards, and people continue to talk about him. We have talked about how the Dallas Cowboys and other teams have failed to stop the run because they don't have that imposing figure right there. So to me, if I'm the Dallas Cowboys and for some reason he gets a chance to fall to you, why wouldn't you take a look at him? You know what your biggest problems have been: stopping the run. You know that this is a guy that is very strong. And like I said, if you have not seen T'Vondre Sweat's video, I'll retweet it here in just a little bit. He pancaked a center that is trying to start a career in the NFL. And if that is the case, he is not going to make it to the NFL because the way that T'Vondre Sweat ran him over. That is a big man moving big people and not having any regards for his well-being. That has been impressive to me. You look at what Byron Murphy hadn't had a chance to really get into the workouts or anything like that. But if you look at the draft boards, he's moving up as well. He's actually listed before T'Vondre Sweat in a lot of these boards. I don't know why. I mean, I truly don't understand, but I do understand because he is that guy that is a dog. He understands what it's like to be in the trenches. He's probably the one, and I don't know this for certain, but I would believe it, that he's probably the one that kind of got T'Vondre Sweat to turn it around because they needed each other to be able to do so. T'Vondre Sweat, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, and Byron Murphy, Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year. These guys have put this together and held this University of Texas defensive line and built for the future. If you weren't paying attention to it, Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins, that's on you. Sadir Mitchell, that's on you. Because these guys were coming in and putting the work in every single game, every single day. So you need to make sure that you continue to hold that mantle. In the East-West Shrine game, Ryan Watts, he had a great week of camp. A lot of people were talking about him. He was a guy when he came in the transfer portal from Ohio State. I told my former co-host that I was with, I said, man, this is a guy that I absolutely love. He has long arms. He has the ability to play man to man. He played the boundary corner the entire time. He did the things that was expected of him, and he came in and did the things that were expected of him, and he started to rise immediately. That is a guy that I think will be playing a lot of football here in the near future on Sundays. He can get himself in the right position, and he's a bigger defensive back. So I'm hopeful for him that he gets that opportunity. Another guy that's been getting a lot of buzz is Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks, smooth runner, probably the smoothest runner that we've seen at this university since Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles, and I'm not comparing the two. I'm talking about how smooth they were when they got the football in their hands. I am hopeful that someone gives Jonathan Brooks a long, hard look and see exactly what this young man has done, even behind Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson. Every time he stepped on the field, there was a chance for him taking it to the house. And most of the time he did at some point. So you look at these Dallas Cowboys, you look at these Texas Longhorns, and you see some bright, bright futures. I really want to see Jordan Whittington get an opportunity because I think he's going to be one of those guys at the combine that is going to wow some people. I want to see X-Man, what he is going to do when he runs, because that's the biggest thing for me. I'm more impressed with his toughness. You know, he played an entire year with a busted hand and nobody knew it. Then he comes back to the next year and he shows us how good he is on punt return. And then he's actually even ran over a couple people when he caught passes. So he's been an impressive part of what I've seen as well. So I'm excited for these young men. I'm excited for their opportunity. I'm more excited for the future of those players that played at the University of Texas. But we were talking about the East-West Shrine game, Salty, and they got a chance yesterday to talk to Coach Sark at the East-West Shrine game. And the introduction was outstanding, but people are always wondering, what was Sark really like? You see the numbers and do all that, but what got him into coaching? And he let you know all about that as well. Good job. And that is why he decided to get into coaching. He said he did go to the Canadian Football League for a little bit, played up there, but he got an opportunity to understand what it's all about and decided, you know what, I can help people. So let me go over here and teach, and got into coaching. Another name to pay attention to on the draft boards, and this is he's a little guy compared to most, is Frank Gore Jr. That's right, Frank Gore Jr. I thought at one point they were going to play in the NFL together. They have been in the game for a long, long time.
Worst fantasy pick every time he in the middle of the team.
Why?
Just no.
The dad never got you any points?
Yeah, never did it for me.
Oh, wow. Well, his son, Frank Gore Jr., got MVP of the East-West Shrine game yesterday, and it was an impressive performance, which to me, he's only 5'7", and I didn't realize that he was that small. I thought he was a little bit bigger than that.
He's
and
bitty.
Yeah, hey, look, he ended up getting it done, and the game was played 5'7". What are you doing? 5'7", 199. But, he's got over 4,000 yards in his career, so that shows how productive he was as he continued to play the game. There's a lot that's going to happen before the draft. I can't wait to see how these players perform and testing. I know it don't always show you everything, but we've seen a lot on tape, and these guys continue to push the envelope. When we come back, Rodney Terry, woo! Them boys got a big game coming up tomorrow, and we'll talk about it right here on the Hardge Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300.
applied and said, man, I want to be like Tubby Smith. I thought he was a classy guy. I thought he was a guy that always won at an elite level. And again, paved the way for opportunities for myself to be where I am right now and doing what I'm doing. So those are the people that you have a lot of respect for. You pay a lot of tribute to in terms of where we are right now and given the opportunities that we have.
Yeah, it's been an impressive conversation, especially when it comes to Coach Rodney Terry and what it meant to him to be able to be the head coach at the University of Texas, especially being a Black head coach in college athletics. Shout out to my man Corey Mose as he got that audio yesterday from Rodney Terry's press availability. It is Black History Month, and we wanted to make sure that we pointed that out because RT has done an exceptional job throughout his coaching career, and he's still out here trying to do what he can to get this team ready to play as they go through this gauntlet of a schedule. Think about this. On January the 20th, they started this run of playing all ranked teams. And I had this conversation with some friends of mine yesterday that are Big 12 fans. And I was like, do y'all realize that the Big 12 has that many teams that are ranked in the top 25? When you start at Baylor, at the time that Texas was playing them, they were at number 9, Oklahoma 11, and BYU was 21. Then they just played U of H. They were the number 4 team. This week they play, tomorrow, 1 o'clock, ESPN2, but you can hear the game right here on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone, as my man Craig Way will be on the call. They're the number 25 ranked team. And then you have the number 12 ranked team on Tuesday at the Mood at Iowa State. People don't understand that. And I'm like, they may not get in the tournament. I'm like, do y'all not understand how this works? This is, you talk about strength of schedule. Quad 1 wins, quad 2 wins, quad 3. This is where it all matters. Now, I understand they lost 2 games in a row. They won those other 2 games. Now they're getting another opportunity to play against these teams. If Texas can go 3-3 in this run, I think that's a win-win.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the Big 12, it is a tough Big 12. But I do want to say this. We talked a lot earlier this week about Kendall Weaver and what he's been able to do with this team. And Coach Terry was asked about this yesterday about, hey, do you think, I think Joe Cook was actually the one who asked this. You know, you hear Joe Cook on Tuesdays right here on Sports Radio AM 1300, The Zone. But Joe Cook was asked Rodney Terry about the Kendall Weaver and should he be a starter or should he not be a starter? And he said, if he's in there in winning time minutes, that's what it's all about. Those are the most important things. So if Texas can get in there and present themselves to that moment where they can get big time minutes from those guys coming off the bench, those are the secret sauce right there. We're going to continue this conversation on the other side because I want you to hear Coach Rodney Terry talking about Kendall Weaver because that's somebody that I've asked him about. That's somebody that every person that has been on this show has talked about, the energy that he brings. As a matter of fact, Kelvin Sampson talked about Kendall Weaver as well and what he brings. Well, hey, we're headed to hour number 2 right here on the Hardge Knocks Live. Don't go anywhere. Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone.
Yeah.
With Mike Hardge and Shannon Sweet.
Hour number 1 in the books. We're starting hour number 2, but I want to make sure that you understand that it's time for you to finish up your voting for the Covert Huddle Best Play of the Week. Travis Kelce's back shoulder touchdown fade, Luka Doncic's 73-point performance, or Madison Booker leading Texas to that big victory over the Baylor Bears last night. And as of right now, boom, Madison Booker, 50% in the league. Travis Kelce at 18.8 and Luka at 31.3. Since we were just talking basketball and I just mentioned Luka's name, I want to get back to that conversation that Rodney Terry and Kelvin Sampson has some sound as well. But Kendall Weaver, he's an interesting story because when he came to the University of Texas from the University of Texas at Arlington, everybody was kind of wondering what kind of player he was going to be. Is he going to fit in here at the University of Texas? And obviously, Coach Terry believed that he was going to fit in from the very beginning. But the energy that that young man plays with. And as I was saying, Joe Cook asked the question about Kendall Weaver. And is Kendall Weaver the guy that could get starter minutes? Should he be in as a starter? And Coach Terry spoke on that just yesterday. Well, Coach Terry.
You switched it on me.
That's interesting to me because that guy just is full of energy. And, you know, we were talking about, you and I talking about how, well, we do kind of care if we start or if we come off the bench. But if the energy is what the energy is, then that's something that you can't bottle up. You can't change it. So if that's who he is, if he runs hot all the time, then let's run hot all the time. Because I know that I really enjoy watching him play. And somebody else that had something to say about the way that he played is the one and only Mr. Kelvin Sampson. Kelvin Sampson, as Texas played against them the other night, he was talking about Kendall Weaver and what he brought to the party as well.
Their guards really played well. The guy that's really made a difference on their team, I think their best defensive guard is Weaver. He knows how to use his athleticism. You know, there's a lot of guys that are athletes that, you know, they'd have to study to pass a blood test. They have no idea how to use their athleticism. He really uses athleticism well. He's got a low base. He's got great feet. He really, he might have had something to do with that shot from all to the better regulation. That's how good their defense is. When you have a kid like him set the standard, it makes the other guys better. So I'm not taking anything against any other kids, but I'm gonna sit here and give a big shout out to the Weaver kid. He's tough. He's an athlete that plays athletic.
And that's what you always want to see. If everybody else, you know how the coaches used to always say this, Salty? They always used to say, you know what? If I had 11 of those guys, everything would be okay for me. If I had the guys that came out and played just like that, everything would be great. Well, Kendall Weaver is that guy. He is the person that I think this Texas basketball team needs to model themselves after. Not saying that everybody doesn't play hard, but you know as well as I do, there's some guys that'll give you energy. There's some that won't. Some people are built a different kind of way, and they move in silence, so to speak. But when he comes in, he is loud, 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 and not by voice, but just by action. So this weekend is going to be a tough weekend, as every game in the Big 12. I just went through that gauntlet of games where Texas has played six. This will be 6 games. This will be the 5th game against a ranked team in a row, followed by the 6th against Iowa State. So when you're questioning how Texas is performing, you got to understand what this Big 12 conference is, how they perform and how this conference will be represented. Now, I know everybody's not going to be able to get into the tournament. I get that. So don't get what I'm saying wrong, but it is going to be a tough run for this Texas basketball team.
Well, in Hardge, as we know, it starts against TCU, and TCU looking to create a toxic environment when Texas comes to town, because as reported by Barstool, TCU, well, as reported, because they created the shirts themselves, they're donating 500 horns down shirts. They're just white shirts with horns down in purple to the student section for this game on Saturday. And as we know, horns down has been quite the topic.
It always is.
And so I'm sure that will be a great camera shot for the television, and we'll see just how rowdy they get with that. But I mean, are you kind of excited about that? Or do you think the school management's going to come in and maybe do what BYU did and tell their students, hey, take them off?
I think we're at that point now where you and I have had this conversation multiple times. I don't think it's a big deal. It's part of what people do to rally their team, and they're not really talking about you, right? Like, they're talking at you. So it's a beautiful thing, and I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just keep it moving. Let them have the shirts. Let them do their thing. But the best way to shut it all down is to get that dub. If you saw last night, the women went out and got the big victory, 67-55, and they were getting the horns down deal, and they just clapped it off because they got the win. That's how you do it. Make them look crazy. And again, they're donating money to the program because of the fact that they're continuing to do that.
That's right. Even Chris Del Conte commented on Twitter because someone said, I hope Chris and the university are getting their licensing fees for that.
Exactly.
Chris just tweeted out a little winky face.
Yeah. Sometimes you get, hey, just keep doing what you're doing and creating those problems, and we'll continue to collect those checks. Salty, we were talking about the Texas men's basketball team and how important this game is. What is something that you want to see this Texas team do better? Because I know exactly what I need to see from them.
Do better. Free throws are free.
Yep.
I think that's a consistent thing we see throughout the year. And overall, just play a complete game from the jump. I'm tired of a tale of two halves. I'm tired of the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows. Play a complete game all the way through. I'd love for them to just go out and blast them.
Right.
I mean, I'd love as a Texas fan to not have the heart palpitations that we're all so used to.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this one thing I want to see. Jamie Dixon's teams, they play hard. They play very physical. The one thing, they play hard, but I want to make sure that Texas does not get out rebounded in this game.
Yeah.
I want to see Texas do everything they possibly can to make sure that they win the battle of the boards.
On the defensive side.
For sure. Don't give them second chance points. Don't get them second chance opportunities. Just make sure that you find a way to not let them beat you on the boards. If you can do that, things are going to be lovely for the Texas Longhorn basketball team. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the NFL. Well, they had the Pro Bowl events. I want to see what your thoughts are. But what in the world did you think was going to happen when you brought Aaron Rodgers to New York and thought he was going to be your savior? Man, we're just getting started in hour number 2 of the Hard Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone.
back at it on the Hardge Knocks Live. Have your voice heard on the show by using the iHeart Radio app TalkBack feature. Now, here's Mike and Shannon.
Welcome back to the Hardge Knocks Live right here on Sports Radio AM 1300 The Zone. When we come back at 8:40, we have the Salty Shakedown. And you're going to be interested in this one. I'll give you a little bit more of a tease right before we go to break. But I wanted to bring this up a little bit because I brought it up at the very beginning of the show. UIL. It's very strange to me with all of this conversation. And if you missed any of the conversation yesterday that Craig Way had, go back and listen to the podcast page because he had Dr. Jamie Harrison on breaking down how this all goes into play. But I got a text message early in the day and say, oh, look at our district. And my son's a 5A student. He is in the Pflugerville ISD school district. So we were talking about it. And I looked at it. I'm like, wait a minute. Why are we going to College Station, A&M, blah, blah, blah. And then I looked back again a little bit later in the afternoon, and I realized that it was different for football than it is for basketball, than it is for volleyball, than it may be for even baseball. And I'm confused by this because of the fact that I grew up in a time where if you were in this district, everybody was in your district, and you played every sport against them in your district. But now with the new realignments and the and how many people are in your school and compared to all this, it has all changed. So for football, and I'm just going to use our school district, and you can go and look up yours at uiltexas.org, and you can find realignments there. But District 12, Region 3, District 12, for football, is Austin Anderson, Bastrop Cedar Creek, Buda Hayes, College Station, A&M Consolidated, Kyle Lehman, Lockhart, Hendrickson, and Pflugerville Weiss. And I was like, that was what I got first. So I was like, why am I going to be driving to Texas A&M on a Tuesday night for a basketball game? And then I went back and looked again. And now I'm like, for basketball, we are in the same region, but we're in a totally different district. So I am so confused about how these realignments had happened. So I text my man Craig Way, and Craig Way was like, well, some schools don't have this sport, some schools don't have that sport, and vice versa. But I'm still confused about why. Why can't everybody in the same district play each other? It is just absolutely nuts. And a team like Buda Johnson is now playing in a San Antonio ISD instead of being able to play the people that they're used to playing. It is a wild, wild time when you start to think about UIL, all the realignments, and who's in what district. But we know as well as anything, just like college athletics, football is the thing that matters the most.
Hardge, when I was in high school, we obviously went through realignment, and right before my senior year, they realigned once again. And it just so happened that Anderson, great high school, and they've had some athletes that we talked to, David Pierce earlier, Texas baseball. It's got an Anderson and Trojan.
Yep.
But that's not what we're known for. We're an IB school. We're really about our academics. That's more of our thing.
For those that don't know what IB is,
prior international baccalaureate.
There you go.
Pre-AP classes, college dual credit, all that stuff. Prior to my senior year, I don't think any of our sporting teams went to the postseason. But with the realignment, my senior year,
it worked out perfectly.
All basketball, both men's and women's. So I got my postseason experience. Football, it was like, oh my, this is the best. So
yeah, it does benefit
schools' favors, and sometimes it's like, oh no.
Yeah, it definitely benefits some schools more than it does others, which is why I always say it goes back to the football. It always goes back to football. So with all the changes, it just happens to be that way. But no matter what, good luck to all those kids with their new realignment and everything else that's going on. Speaking of realignment, I want to talk a little bit about the NFL and some of the craziness that is there. But I need you to make your plans right now for February the 11th to come and hang out with Craig Way and myself at the Hot Spot from 3 to 6 p.m. That's right. The Hot Spot is in Cedar Park. You can make sure you come out there. They'll be giving away concert tickets. They also have food and drink specials, but there's a limited number of tables. So you can reserve them right now. Go to hotspotvenue.com. That's hotspotvenue.com. Okay, Salty, I want to talk about this because I got fooled. I do want you to know this. I got hoodwinked. I got bamboozled. I got tricked. And I bought it. No. It was I was buying things off of television. I was buying things off of Hard Knocks because I had been thinking I'm not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. You know this. You've been with me for quite some time now.
Correct.
So you know I'm not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. I think he is the biggest prima donna on earth. But when I was watching Hard Knocks, I was really excited. I was like, oh my gosh, he's turned over a new leaf. He's showing up early. He's got to town. He was going to movies. He was going to Broadway plays. He was going to games. He was going to hockey. He was doing everything he needed to do to be invested in New York and his teammates. Robert Saleh was a big fan of his, and everybody seemed to be really excited about Aaron Rodgers. Even the way that he was portrayed on the show, talking to the teammates, teaching, coaching up Zach Wilson, and realizing that, hey, this is my new home. Well, 45 seconds into the game, he ends up blowing out his Achilles. Season starts to take a turn. He's in and out. He's doing all his trips. He's having his surgery. I'll be back by the end of the year. You just wait. I'm a miracle. Well, he didn't come back and all this other stuff happened. And the team was still playing good. Zach Wilson was up and down. He decided he didn't want to play. Don't put me in the game. I want you to do all this other stuff. That's because Robert Saleh didn't give him the vote of confidence that he needed. So then you start to hear all these little rumblings about this team. And again, color me shocked because I was given Aaron Rodgers the benefit of the doubt. Something I would never, ever do because I am not an Aaron Rodgers fan, but he got to me. And I kept saying, man, look at him. I've never seen this side of him doing interviews, having fun with his teammates, coaching them up, showing up early, working on his patterns. But remember, he wanted to bring in his offensive lineman, Bakhtiari. He wanted to bring in Randall Cobb. They traded for Alan Lazard. They did everything Aaron Rodgers wanted them to do. So you're thinking, that's interesting. New team, get to know your other teammates. Well, anyway, as the season goes on, the team starts tanking. Things look terrible, all this other stuff. Robert Saleh is in front of the media all the time, giving a good word, trying to pump up his team, keeping everybody together. Shocked that he got to keep his job after their performance during the year, but they said, well, Aaron Rodgers weren't here, so let's see what happens. Well, yesterday, some reports started to trickle out. Well, over a week, it started to trickle out. And one of the reports said, Jets head coach Robert Saleh threatened to take his coaches' phones away in an attempt to identify who was leaking things from the organization to the media, per the NFL Athletic, prefer the Athletic NFL. Okay, Saleh became paranoid after it was leaked to the media that Zach Wilson did not want to reclaim his starting job. I quote, that sent Saleh into a tailspin. The coach held a meeting with his staff, and 2 days later, where he was asked the leaker to reveal himself, according to multiple people in attendance. Quote, if you come forward now, you won't get in trouble. He told them while threatening them to take their cell phones. The staffers were amused by him and Saleh's obsession with the Wilson story and his reaction. So here's the thing, Robert Saleh. If you were the leader in your clubhouse, do you believe that this story would be getting out? Would you believe that you would need to have these paranoid situations? For those that don't remember, I want to refresh you on a story that was initially brought to you by some of the people in the media here at the 40 Acres. When Tom Herman told parents not to talk to the media because he didn't want that. He threatened them. And that was
with a good time?
A bad start to the Tom Herman era. He called a meeting with a lot of the press, said, this is my program. Don't come around here asking all this stuff. And everybody in the press was like, we'll be here longer than you, my brother. And truth be told, they were. So when you're watching these stories and you're hearing these things, because just like anything else, it's going to get out at some point, right? We've talked about this. There's going to be a disgruntled employee. There's going to be a player that is just fed up. There's going to be a guy now that will go to Instagram and just post a story on his live reel and talk about he's not hurt. I don't know why they have me on the injury report. I might as well be in a body cast the way that they're talking about my injuries. You're going to have to understand that you need to have your team's back as a leader because you will be exposed at some point. So please understand, Robert Saleh, you have Aaron Rodgers in your locker room. There's going to be some pettiness. There was also a report that came out that one Hackett, the former coach of the Denver Broncos, that once again, Aaron Rodgers had a relationship with, and they wanted him to bring in Paul Hackett and said, hey, this is my guy. Make sure you bring him in. He's going to be my offensive coordinator. So what did they do? They did it. And they said that he was acting more like a frat dude than a head coach. His attention to detail, or not a head coach, but a offensive coordinator. His attention to detail was absolutely awful. He did not lead this team in the right way, which is probably why Zach Wilson didn't want his starting job back because he knew that this dude was a clown. And just because you're friends with Aaron Rodgers, you might get a payday, but you're not going to be around that much longer. I can promise you that. So this story is very interesting to me. And one of the main things that stood out to me, and this story came out the other day, it said after the 30-point loss to the Dolphins in week 15, Alan Lazard, one of the guys that Aaron Rodgers decided to bring in a season in which he registered the fewest receiving yards among 59 wide receivers to run at least 400 routes. He said, oh, man, we just got out of effort and out schemed. We didn't come prepared. Come on, man. You were a bust because Aaron Rodgers was not your quarterback. When you was in Green Bay, they had to throw you the ball. Now, they got Garrett Wilson over there. Lake Travis, holla at your boy. Garrett Wilson was better than you and will continue to be better than you. When we come back, oh, yeah, by the way, just make sure you pay attention to that drama in New York. It is going to get messy. When we come back, we got the Salty Shakedown. She talks about Lewis Hamilton. Wait, what? And something has been enhanced? I don't know nothing about that. But we'll talk about it when we get back on the Hardge Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone.
Texas, followed by your message to 81530. Standard data and message rates may apply. Now back to the Hardge Knocks Life on Sports Radio AM 1300 The Zone.
You know, it's ironic that this is the song because we've been doing a lot of crying here lately. There's a lot been going on. But you also have Justin Timberlake releasing his new album. He's been in the news a lot, and all of it hasn't been good.
I would like to apologize.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just making it happen. But as she always does, the lovely Shannon B. Sweeney, you know her as Salty, with her salty shakedown.
All right, Hardge, we're going to go to a world that we don't venture to often, and that is the world of F1. But Austin being home to one of the greatest F1 races with its specialty designed course out there at COTA and a huge event that happens every October. There's some big news in the world of F1. Even if you're just a casual sports fan and you don't know much about F1, I think everyone knows who Lewis Hamilton is, right? He's hanging out with, the Tom Cruises and the Shakiras, and he's been with Team Mercedes for quite some time, and he's had a ton of success. Well, news broke that he is officially joining Team Ferrari in 2025. Now, I don't, again, not super familiar with what that means as far as the sport. I don't know which team overall is better with or without him. Ferrari still sounds like a very nice car to me. Also a good fan of a Mercedes.
Yep.
But I want to think about what this would relate to as far as like the NBA. Is it like a Kevin Durant leaving OKC to go to Golden State, or will we compare this maybe more to a Tom Brady who had that much success with the Patriots and then left only to go to another team? Now the success obviously occurred for him there as well, and it remains to be seen for Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton. But this is a big shakeup in a sport that is beloved worldwide.
No doubt. And Lewis Hamilton is one of the best drivers in the history of it, and he's got trying to flip off. But here's the thing. I think this is why he's changing. He's been losing a lot more than he has before. And that, I think it's Max Kaspesen or whatever his name is, kind of taken over right
now.
The
one who was copping an attitude
yes.
in Vegas?
Yeah. So Lewis Hamilton was running things, and now he's adjusting, and he needed to get it with a new company so he can make sure that he get back into the winner's circle. So
this is the first time in his F1 career that he is changing teams. So he'll finish out the year.
Of course.
Mercedes.
Always a tough breakup.
He will retire the Mercedes hat.
Yep.
On the Ferrari.
I
can never think of Ferrari without thinking of the Pixar Cars movie. Ferrari. That's how it sounds.
Yeah, it does sound just like that.
Now, Hardge, you teased enhancements. So let's get right to it. Billionaires. They can do so much with their money. But one billionaire, Peter Thiel, is bankrolling what they're calling Olympics on steroids. Literally.
Right.
Because the enhanced games, as it is officially going to be known as, is going to allow athletes who dope to play.
Come on.
Of any variety.
What?
Why?
I have no idea.
Hardge, we're going to get more details apparently on this in middle of April. This comes at an interesting time, obviously, as the promotion ramps up for the Summer Games in Paris. That'll go down in July. Obviously, I mean, this week we found that Russia officially lost. It would not be getting that gold medal for the Winter Olympics in ice skating, or figure skating, excuse me.
There you go.
And that would be handed on over to Team USA. There's been plenty of doping scandals within Olympic history, within athletic history, baseball, obviously.
Hey, hold up. It is true, though. It is true, though. For sure. You're right. I would have to concur with that.
So, I mean, what I don't understand how this is going to happen. Are you now going to have to test people for drugs to say if you're not on drugs, you can't play? Or are you saying, hey, you can compete with some people who are on drugs, and if you win, then you get to say
yes. Y'all couldn't beat me with drugs. The enhancements.
The billionaires do the dumbest thing.
I'm interested in this though, because I want to see how people really react to it. And if you are on doping, at least you're sitting here saying, I don't care. I'm letting you know. So when you perform, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that dude's on performance
Like,
enhancing.
what
That's
drug
performance
company
enhancing."
is this billionaire tied to on the back end where it's like, we're going to get all the
Balco, the same one that gave out the baseball player drugs.
Oh my
So
goodness.
there you go. I like that. I like
So
that.
I'm sure what we might hear in April might be if they've got any TV contracts, because right now this doesn't live anywhere other than in the ether.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I guess we'll have more to come. Hardge, our final story today, we're going to take it to the world of baseball because, as we found out, Brad Bohannon, who was the former Alabama coach, for baseball, he was relieved of his duties following a betting scandal.
And it was a bad betting scandal as well.
Right. He had a guy who he texted to say, blank student athlete is out for sure in a game against LSU. He then said, let me know when I can tell the opposing team, LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Hurry. So he told this information to a guy who I think went and tried to place
a
$100,000 bet, but they would only let him do like $15K.
He got caught because it was something that he didn't normally do.
Red flag. That's when the bank goes, what are you doing? So obviously this all came to light. Coach was fired, and now we have some sanctions that have been handed out. Alabama is going on a 3-year probation, a $5,000 fine, and is required to retain a firm to provide comprehensive gambling education to student athletes, coaches, and athletics administrators. And Hardge, the bettor, Mr. Neff, he could be facing up to 10 years in prison, a fine of more than $250,000 for destroying evidence and tampering and placing that horrible bet.
See there, I mean, that is something that when you start to think about how the games are being played and who's involved in it. We used to have that thing where we used to go, I think that dude is point shaving. I think that dude is point shaving. Well, actually, they might be point shaving for real nowadays because of the activities that have been going on when it comes to being able to bet at any time.
Now, was he expecting to, I guess they had a deal where he might get a cut?
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Is he not making enough money as a head baseball coach in the SEC?
No, obviously not. I mean, when you make money, you want more money, and you want to be able to find a way to handle this. And the funny thing is, the starting pitcher that was involved in it, he wasn't the one that was involved. He was the one that ended up being hurt.
Right, the name drop.
I played baseball against his father.
Of course
I played baseball against his father. And one of our buddies, we were texting back and forth when it was happening. And I was like, is this who I think it is? And they were like, yep, that's his son. And he wasn't part of the scandal. He was the reason why they felt they could make the bet because he was hurt.
Right.
And he wasn't going to be able to pitch. But nobody knew that.
Yeah.
So they were trying to get ahead of it.
This is going to make a great little Netflix documentary.
It definitely will.
Because I love I forget what they're branded as, the sports documentaries that have been coming out. But the NBA gambling referee one, that was fantastic. And I love it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that when people look at it and they hear the actual story, it kind of changes the view and the perspective on certain things. Mm-hmm. And then you start questioning everything that happens. And that's the bad part, because now you're questioning things that you normally wouldn't be questioning. It's just a part of the game. Yep. And now it's like, ooh, wait, what happened there?
Well, there it is, Hardge. Today's Salty Shakedown. Alabama sanctioned for their former head coach's betting, advice due to insider information because, he's the head coach. The enhanced games, the Olympics, literally on steroids, coming soon, and shake up in the world of F1 as Lewis Hamilton officially commits to Team Ferrari in 2025.
Yeah, this was a good salty shakedown. I really like this one. Not like I don't like the other ones, but I'm just saying, like, man, this is a cool situation. And the funny part about it is there's always more to the story. So I'm sure we're going to be following this and we're going to be dealing with it a little bit more. That's it right there. The Salty Shakedown on the Hardge Knocks Life. When we come back, we're going to close out the show and send you to Dan Patrick. But guess what? Baseball, baby. Right here on the Hardge Knocks Life on Sports Radio, AM 1300, The Zone.
Nice.
Welcome back to the Hardge Knocks Live right here on Sports Radio AM 1300 Zone. We had a great show. Coming up next will be our man Dan Patrick, as he always does after our show. Just remember, every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m., you can kick it with Salty and I, and we try to bring you the best that we possibly can every single day. We talked a lot about the NFL. There's so much going on. Dan Quinn getting a new job with the Washington Commanders. Who's going to be the Dallas Cowboys DC? We'll find out more over the weekend. We'll have a We'll have a Dallas Cowboy insider on with us next week. I just got a text message, Salty. You were talking about Lewis Hamilton and what's going on with F1. We'll have another insider to give us the background on that as well, to be able to make us a little bit more understood when it comes to F1 and what goes on with it. We talked a lot about the Texas Longhorns women's basketball team with a huge road victory against the Baylor Bears, 67-55. Great performance by Madison Booker and her teammates. Vic Schaefer pouring his heart out and how proud he is of his team. Rodney Terry, big weekend, big matchup against TCU tomorrow, 1 p.m. You can listen to the game right here on Sports Radio AM 1300 The Zone, but you can also watch it on ESPN. You can sync the TV up with Craig Way and watch it that way too, because no better call than with Craig Way. Salty, I wanted to talk a little bit about this too. Tomorrow, big time matchup. That's right. I'm talking about baseball. The alumni game is tomorrow, and Fan Appreciation Day is set for tomorrow. The doors and the autograph session will open at 10:30. You can actually play catch on the field up until 11:15 as the team gets ready to take batting practice at 11:30. You get pictures with Bevo from 1:30 to 2:30, and then the alumni game starts at 2:30. Make sure you get over there and enjoy and get a chance to meet the new Texas Longhorn baseball team as they get ready to prepare for the season, as the season kicks off the following week, in 2 weeks actually, before they get ready to take on San Diego. Salty, are you going to be out to batting practice tomorrow? I think you should.
I have January.
Oh, yeah, January.
I'm gonna be busy.
Okay, for those that missed that, Salty told me that she is celebrating January, the third anniversary, 3-year anniversary, whatever it may be, of January. And this consists of what, Salty?
Everyone in our little group.
How many is in this little group? That's the other part. I forgot to ask you that earlier.
We had like close to 20 people show up last year, and there were some people missing.
You were one of the people that were missing, or you?
No, I was there last year.
Okay, that was your first year participating.
Yes.
So this is year number 2 for you,
2 for me,
but 3 for the organizer of this January. And this consists of doing what?
Wearing as much jean attire as you have, your best Canadian tuxedo, and showing up to Don's Depot. Typically, it happens in January, which is why you get the name January.
Yep.
But due to scheduling, it's February 3rd this year.
Okay. And it's the perfect time because it's enough. I promise you, I'm wearing my jeans today, so I might be able to get there for just that first part. But other than that, I don't think I've ever participated in anything of that nature. Maybe I need to start having a little bit more fun and culturizing myself, because it seems like that's what you're doing a lot of real quick. I'm just surprised by that. I want to thank y'all for tuning in as always, and make sure you tell all your friends to make sure that they tune into the Hardge Knocks Life Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. And just remember this: don't believe everything you see, because even salt looks like sugar. Peace.